So it's time for Q&A number 114. You guys know how to send in questions via the links in the description box below, so we don't really need to go into that anymore after 113 times of doing that most of the time. So we're just going to go straight into the questions. Oh, by the way, I'm Mr. Parkin. This awesome guy sitting next to me with the hoodie and the Miz shirt is none other than NJ, people.
What's up?
Let's get to our first question from D96 Mister. I think you might have mixed those bits up there a little bit, but there we go. Do you think SummerSlam has the potential to be pay-per-view of the year? NJ?
It's got big matches, but I think the best is yet to come.
So, I mean, you've got Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, you know, Daniel Bryan, John Cena. You've got some good mid-card matches in there. Whether it'll be pay-per-view of the year or not, who really knows? I mean, I can't really think of a pay-per-view that's been really standout this year. Maybe SummerSlam will be. I must say this, I'm not entirely hyped for it. I'm at about a 6 out of 10 right now, but that may only be because I'm watching SmackDown, which generally most of the stuff doesn't happen on anyway.
The way I feel is that the build for the important matches, like always, is the one that's getting the most concentration. But I remember back in the day when we were looking for the other matches, looking forward to a good tag match, good mid-card. And when it comes to SummerSlam, like the 4 big pay-per-views, you expect all matches to have some importance behind it. Sometimes enough that.
I mean, there's no IC title, no US title, there's no tag team championships on there. You know, that's 3 titles that WWE haven't got on their SummerSlam pay-per-view yet, and probably doubt that maybe 2 of them will make it. One of them will probably be pre-show or something. But so, potential, yes. Will it be? We'll find out this Sunday. Scott Weil, do you think Lesnar versus Punk needs a stipulation? I think a street fight would work well with a few chairs and steel steps being used. I mean, has this really been built as a feud which could need a street fight? Or do you think it's best to have this once in a lifetime, I guess you could say, kind of match as a singles match?
Well, there's a chance that this would be a one-off match, but Triple H got a few out of Lesnar. Cena got the one, I think. So that if the fact it's going against Punk, the feud, in my opinion, is more against Heyman. But I think for the match at SummerSlam, I think for the first one, Best in the World, Best of Beast is kind of not a stipulation, but a name for this match. I think that's enough.
Yeah, I think the tagline really sells it personally. I think as a singles match, yeah, fine, that's fine, but I wouldn't mind a street fight. I wouldn't mind some street fight elements in there, especially going on with Brock Lesnar's MMA style, etc.
Street fight could be good, but he's already had 2, 3 with Triple H, so you can't really do anything different apart from a Hell in a Cell. But no, I think that's already been done with Lesnar. So to be honest, I think a singles match.
Jon Snow, who do you feel should win Punk versus Lesnar at SummerSlam? I feel Punk losing ruins his return as a face, and Lesnar losing ruins his monster character completely because he's only won against Triple H since returning. I mean, either one could win, really. I think maybe CM Punk should win because he's just coming back fresh as a babyface. He's in the company 24/7, whereas Lesnar's more of a special attraction.
I'm going to say give it to Lesnar. The reason I say that is because Punk's had that year title run. He's been trying to overcome Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar's not really done anything. So when Brock Lesnar actually makes an appearance, you expect big bad things to happen. So if this feud does continue on to another pay-per-view, I think Brock Lesnar should get the win over Punk, but only Punk to want to get back at Heyman and Lesnar.
I think if they're going to prolong this feud onwards to maybe Survivor Series, then Brock Lesnar should win the first match. If this is a one-off, then I'd say have CM Punk beat Brock Lesnar here as he's in the company 24/7. But it is a very interesting question. You don't really want to ruin Brock Lesnar's momentum, even though you could kind of say his momentum has already been ruined, and you don't really want to ruin CM Punk's momentum as after just returning as a babyface, and you want to really push him as he's one of the top stars in the company right now. So it is a difficult choice. Maybe it will be a double DQ. Who knows? Maybe they'll both be protected here. Who fucking knows? The 299. Does Daniel Bryan need to beat John Cena at SummerSlam in your eyes? I don't think he needs to beat John Cena. I think if he has a good competitive match with John Cena and loses, that will progress him up the card a little bit. But I think a lot of fans out there just want to see Daniel Bryan beat Cena simply because they're a massive fan of Daniel Bryan, or they just fucking hate Cena to the point where they'll take anyone to beat him at a big pay-per-view for the championship now.
I think the fact that when Cena's in a match against a good wrestler, you expect a good match, which for SummerSlam to have a good match is good. But I think the fans, even if the match is good, they want something different. So if, let's say, Bryan does win, yes, there's the whole new storyline coming on from it, the Orton thing. But with the answer to your question, I think, yes, eventually Cena needs to be putting people over. So start with Bryan.
Yeah, I just with Daniel Bryan, I do wonder if he is really at that level where he can beat a John Cena. I mean, it would be good. Don't get me wrong if Daniel Bryan beats John Cena at SummerSlam. But personally, I don't think he needs to beat John Cena. I think it would be more beneficial if he did. But we'll find out at SummerSlam what happens there. Laurel Lewis asked us a couple of questions. Do you think the only reason the Divas are getting more screen time is because of Total Divas and/or WWE competing with TNA and their knockouts? Well, they're really trying to promote Total Divas, but none of the Divas on the TV show are really on there. I mean, you've got AJ and Caitlyn in a feud, and they're not really on there. Layla isn't really on there. So is it really there to promote the Total Divas show, or is it there just to have a, pretty simple Divas feud?
Other than the Bella twins and probably Natalia, who may get involved with it, maybe. But to be honest, even if there was no Total Divas, the Divas, in my opinion, yes, you've got AJ doing better, but that's not enough. So they're using a TV thing they're trying to run on Raw, SmackDown.
Do you see Caitlyn and AJ having a Lita Trish Stratus type of feud? No, I mean Lita and Trish Stratus are two characters that will really stand out in WWE, and there's no way that AJ Lee and Caitlyn are really ever going to get to that level because the Divas aren't ever going to be featured on a level in which they could get to the Lita and Trish Stratus level, as they were involved in bigger storylines elsewhere and became stars that way as well.
The way they were building up the Trish and AJ and Mickie James, you was really wanting to see it. You had Trish as the long-term diva, and you had Mickie James coming in. With this, you've got one chick who's, in my opinion, not really up there to either Mickie James or Trish, and the other, well, yes, she's a likable wrestler, but not at Trish and Mickie James level.
Who do you see these guys fighting at WrestleMania? We'll go through this list. John Cena. I see him fighting Undertaker, personally. As for CM Punk, who really knows at this point? I mean, it's very hard to really predict who's going to be fighting at Mania. Rock may possibly face Brock Lesnar. Randy Orton possibly facing Shane. I mean, who really knows at this point? It's very hard to predict, apart from maybe the big matches at this point.
My predictions would be Punk and Austin. I think that's going to happen. I think they could put whatever rumour they want on the internet, but I think it's going to happen sometime. Cena, I think the fact that he's quickly getting through all these different names, the Ryback, he's getting through Mark Henry, he's going to get through Daniel Bryan. I think Taker would be the one. The Shield tag team division's not there. Orton, depending on the briefcase. The Rock, if he comes back, I think that does leave him with Brock because there's no other big name for him to go against. There we go.
Or there's that rumoured match between possibly The Rock or maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H with the ownership on the line with Vince in there. But yeah, we'll get to that later. AJ solo, Caitlyn solo, or a threesome with both. Why not experiment with a threesome? You could have a bit of girl-on-girl action there. Why not? Would you do that too? Hell,
no.
It's every man's dream to have a threesome, I guess.
It would be, but I don't want to get arrested by doing it with a underage girl.
What the fuck?
AJ.
James Red Devil 666. How the fuck are we going to top that one, NJ? I missed the Backlash and King of the Ring pay-per-views. Do you think they should bring them back? Backlash was always a favourite of mine as it was following on from WrestleMania, and you generally got the finishing off of the WrestleMania feuds. King of the Ring, I did like the concept, even though it wasn't necessarily the best pay-per-view, but I would bring them both back, and I can see you're itching to go.
Well, the thing to say is the Backlash, about 3 years back, yes, Extreme Rules has grown on me.
Yes.
It's got to a point where WrestleMania has these matches, but you expect bigger for some reason on Extreme Rules. So that I could forgive. King of the Ring, fix that curse and bring it back. So those kind of there's a load of old pay-per-views I'd bring back that would replace what we have now. But with those two, if I had to pick one of the two, King of the Ring.
What are your hopes for the Wyatt family? I've seen Bray Wyatt develop from Husky Harris into the Bray Wyatt character for about over the last 2 years now, and I really do think the Bray Wyatt character could go all the way in WWE. I really like the Bray Wyatt character. I think it's something very unique in the WWE and something that considers that falls into a niche which no one else in WWE really touches upon, really.
Well, you can split this into two, a bit like the Shield. You got two tag team. You got one that Mr. Parkin said could branch off to something there. So I think a good tag team feud for the two Wyatt and Bray. I think for now, possibly do like Dean Ambrose is doing, going after the mid card before being pushed higher, which he has with the whole Kane thing, possibly.
Let's hope they actually try and complete this push, unlike the Shield where they've just sort of gone down. How can WWE save the tag team division? Well, the first thing they need to do is put some face tag teams in there, because right now the Shield don't really have anyone to face.
I think the way I'd personally do it is you need to have tag teams that the fans are going to want to see each week. You had the Shield, that didn't work. You got the Wyatt family, but they've got no real opponents. So to be honest, he broke up Road Skyders for right reasons, but the wrong reasons. So the best thing to do possibly is maybe bring back some old tag teams temporarily to bring entertainment back to the division.
What do you guys think of the news that Sting might be coming to WWE? This is a while. I remember a while back there were rumors that Sting may be coming to WWE, but I think Dixie Carter probably coughed up the money so Sting would stay in TNA and would do this main event Mafia angle. I mean, if he did come to WWE, the one big match there would be Undertaker, and he could do a little bit of business for WWE, even though he's done everything he can in TNA, just for the special attraction, I guess.
I think with the Hall of Fame and the fact that Vince may not give Dixie her special pay-per-view, I think Dixie's going to probably do what she can to keep Sting away. But if he did come, yes, everyone's going to be crying up to Taker.
Howard Starr, do you prefer heel doink or face doink? Unfortunately, we never really saw much of either. Just because I like heels better, I'll go with heel doink.
After watching the movie It, I think a heel clown would be awesome.
Do you think WWE should bring in more all-American characters who believe in the USA? That's a kind of a gimmick that was done with Hogan and Lex Luger, and I think really WWE need to move away from that kind of thing right now. I really do.
We the people!
I rest my case. Jamal Payne. Do you think Bo Dallas will ever get over, and do you think Sami Zayn will get Ole chance in WWE? Well, Sami Zayn has been getting a lot of Ole chants in NXT. Whether they will spread to the WWE crowds, who knows? Bo Dallas, unfortunately, he's a babyface that is in John Cena territory right now, in the fact that he's getting pushed very hard down our throats, and everyone seems to fucking hate him. So it depends whether or not he will get over. The NXT crowd sure as fuck don't like him. Maybe the WWE casual fans may like him. Who knows? It just depends on what impact they make and how they bring him in when they bring him onto TV, both of them.
Eventually, I might start actually watching NXT, but now I just watch Mr. Parkin's reviews. But the point is, they brought Bo Dallas in a strong way within the WWE, but it somehow slipped up, and they're building it better in NXT. I think there could be some hope there, but we have to see.
Punk v Spod is an up-and-coming wrestler. Who would you entrust your career to, Bischoff or Paul Heyman? Paul Heyman, I think, would make you into a better talent. I think Eric Bischoff would make you into a better TV star. So whichever one you really want to be. Do you want to be the better wrestler and talent, or would you rather be the bigger draw / TV star? That's the way I see it, anyway.
The way I see it, for the fact that even though they're both big names, but you've got Heyman, the great mic talker, and the guy who it's represented as bringing in guys and making them stars and stuff. Eric Bischoff, I think, with the power he has within companies, I think he could do some good.
RPG Rich Porter, I think Triple H, Batista, and Edge had good runs with the World Heavyweight Championship, but which WWE star had the best World Heavyweight Championship run? You think it's Triple H? Of course you think it's Triple H. It would be
Triple H and then followed by Edge.
Yeah, I can't really go wrong with that, to be honest with you. Can WWE ever make enough heels for John Cena to bury so he can be on the same level as Triple H? I'll say this. They've had trouble finding opponents for him this year. I mean, they found Ryback as a new opponent, Mark Henry as a new opponent. They've going to have Daniel Bryan as a new opponent. They're kind of running out of opponents for John Cena right now to kind of beat, aren't they?
The WWE give the possibly good heel one match against Cena just so Cena can get the win. And I think it's a bit of a shame because, again, Cena's at a point now after 10 years where he'd be the great guy if someone actually beat him to make new stars to help the WWE out. But for some reason, Vince, maybe Cena don't think that way.
When will people, guys on the internet in brackets, stop making excuses for why ROH and TNA haven't made it as a big promotion and accept them as small/medium setups? Well, unfortunately, a lot of people on the internet like technical wrestling, and that is where you generally get that a lot in ROH. So people will always stick up for ROH because it's technical wrestling, and they think that is the best damn thing in the world. As for TNA, people have stopped making excuses for TNA now, even though generally a lot of TNA fanboys will make excuses for TNA, and they'll always counter their argument by saying, yeah, well, WWE does this, well, WWE does that. Well, why not focus on what your own fucking company does rather than the company that you hate more? I mean, for God's sake.
I think ROH, I think it's more to do with funding. If they somehow got a big sum of money, maybe they could start doing different things like TNA have started to do. But TNA, I don't know why they're not growing when they should do. They're trying what they can, but their ideas are not working.
Did they only bring the Bellas back for the Diva TV show? Probably. I mean, that you gotta have to imagine that probably a massive reason why they came back, because it's not like they've been in any big feuds or anything since they come back. Aksana was a pretty good valet to Antonio. She knew her spots and did all the things a heel valet should do. So why does WWE not want her on TV? There are plenty of heels and some new ones that could use a good heel valet. I mean, heel valets, yeah, fine, but was Aksana really that good of a heel valet to the point where she got to heat on Antonio Cesaro? The fact that Cesaro never really got heat suggests to me that she wasn't that great of a heel valet, to be honest.
I think with Aksana, I think when the WWE were trying different ideas like the Santino thing, the Theodore Long thing, I think they really ran out of ideas, and that's not just on her, that's the Divas in general.
Thunder Knight 19. Why does the IWC think a WWE pay-per-view sucks if superstars they wanted to win lose? This is a very interesting question. I think there's a lot of bias in the YWC. If your guys don't win, or if your guys your guys lose against the guy who you don't like, it could be the best fucking match in the world, but you will downgrade it just because your guys didn't win. I mean, I'm a big Cody Rhodes fan, but just because Cody Rhodes doesn't win a match, it doesn't mean I'm going to downgrade it. I mean, don't you find that a lot of time on the internet, people pick favorites, and if they don't win, like if Daniel Bryan, let's say SummerSlam is a great card, but John Cena beat Daniel Bryan, how far do you reckon a lot of internet fans would downgrade that pay-per-view just because John Cena beat their favorite Daniel Bryan? I mean, it is prevalent here in the YWC. I really think it is.
Well, there are certain matches I'm going to be against. Like, if we say this guy should win, and it's more reasons why this guy should win, but he loses, then yes, we can complain. Like, if Triple H loses any more matches in his career, yeah, I'm going to go on a riot, joking. But yes, yes.
I mean, there are times when guys like John Cena should be losing, and we have every right to complain, but just because your favorite guy doesn't necessarily beat John Cena, when it may make more sense for John Cena to win, it doesn't mean you should bash WWE just for that. I'm just saying. Jamie O'Hearn, who is the real big man right now in WWE/TNA? The real big man, probably
in each company.
Either, I guess. I mean, TNA don't really have many big men in their company, unfortunately. Matt Morgan's gone now. He was the one that I think had most potential. WWE have guys like Big Show, Mark Henry, Kane, but they're not really like massive stars for the company in terms of big men.
I'd say the big man in TNA would, like, at the moment, even though he's not being booked that well, the Parks, either Abyss or Joseph, in WWE, it'll get given to Kane's where he's going right now. Yes, I'll give it to him.
All right, that's another Q&A. Finish with us the British Fest. A lot of questions addressed here, and please keep us your questions coming. Inbox them, comment them, Facebook, Twitter them, either way with the Twitter hashtag BritishFistQA. I have been Mr. Parkin. This guy sitting next to me has been NJ, who will now provide you with an outro.
And from Mr. Parkin and me, NJ, being two members of the British Fist. Thank you very much, people, and good.